crept the asshole on the 14th floor where the bathroom door don't lock. So happy we don't gotta worry about the cops. We could all get arrested for this, but when the 40s mix, I don't give a shit tonight. Alright. Now she walks in the bedroom fast, despite all the noise from the crowd. Now she's bedless on the bathroom sink. Her mother would be so proud. Gets on a deed and there's a line to go pee, but the bathroom looks like a war zone.
Welcome into episode 41 of Fired Up, presented by the Belly Up Podcast Network, bellyupsports.com. I'm Mike Giletto. Joining me, as always, is Dom Console. What's up, Dom?
What's up, man? I'm doing good. How are you?
I'm doing just fine. We have a big show planned for tonight. We are not alone, as everybody can see. We have a special guest, so let's get to him. He spent 15 seasons in the NHL. He was a 5-time All-Star. He played in 1,016 games, scoring 1,004 points. Former Flyer Brian Propp is with us. Propper, thanks for joining us. How you doing?
I'm doing pretty well. How about you? It's a little late for me, but because I got up early, but that's okay. I'm glad you're on the show.
Hey, me too. It's we won't keep you long.
No, we really appreciate this too. I mean, this is huge for us,
Absolutely, definitely appreciate it. Definitely want to get to your career as a Flyer, obviously, and the current Flyers. But before we get to that, I wanted to get to your business ventures, what you got going on over there. So you sent your cigars, the Goof Off cigars, to Dom.
I got them right here.
I'm not a huge cigar guy. Dom is kind of getting into that. The packaging's badass, I'll say that.
The wooden box.
Yeah, it looks nice, and plus it's a nice variety. There's 2 mild, 2 medium, and a Maduro. A nice variety for people to try. But they're from the Dominican Republic. I went with Ken Dunnick and my son Jackson, and 3 years ago at the Dominican Republic, Santiago, and we checked out a couple of the factories were there, so we learned how they're made, aged, and how they do everything like the right way. And so I was really excited to make my own brand, but it took me a year and a half to kind of get everything ready, and now I've been selling them for about a year and a half, and it's going pretty well. I just starting slow, but as I build, hopefully people keep reordering because they're really good.
As Mike said, look, I'm somewhat of a cigar smoker. I probably smoke about maybe like 7 or 8 a year. So I'm more on like the mild side, but I actually gave my father-in-law and my brother-in-law one of the cigars, and my brother-in-law smoked it, and he said it was wonderful. So I can't wait to actually finally sit down, and because I just got them in the mail, so I can't wait to sit down and finally smoke one.
Yeah, they're done really well because I work with another company called Vivente Cigars, and that way I did a licensing agreement with them. That way I don't have to worry about being a manufacturer of tobacco. So the other company kind of pays all the taxes and takes care of all that of it. But my own brand is the Guffaw brand, and I started with 425 boxes of 10 for my 425 regular season goals, and so I only have about 80 of them left, and then when they're gone, and then I just have to make something different. But it took me a long time, but it's going really well, and people love them, and that's all I'll care about.
Yeah, for sure. And also, really quick, I'm somebody who actually. I'm a 4-for-4 Philly sports guy. I love the Flyers, the Eagles, the Phillies, and the Sixers. And I'm somebody who collects autographs. And you signed the box for me and a poker chip. And I just wanted to thank you so much for that, because even though you didn't know that, like it's still special, as a fan to get that kind of stuff. So I really appreciate that.
Yeah, well, my pleasure. I always have pictures with me, and the little prize with a chick.
Right.
Right. But obviously you kept the goof off, thing going, thing that was kind of big in your career. I mean, what was the backstory to that starting?
Yeah, so like on my brianpropp.com website, there's a whole bunch of information about what I have too, like all the articles that I've done, and a story, Gordy, Howie Mandel. It's under the Guffaw, so it explains all about the Guffaw, how it gets started with Howie Mandel in the '80s, and I went to a couple of his shows, and then I liked what he did, and then I started to copy him doing the Guffaw when I scored and center ice and did the Guffaw. And then he called me in the playoffs one year and said that he didn't mind that I trademarked that, and I had a nice conversation with him. But I've seen him a few times, and I got to know him at the shows like in the '80s and '90s. And last year he was at the show in Atlantic City, so I had a chance to talk with him again and just say hi. And it's just really nice to, nice guy, and he didn't mind that I was branding the Guffaw cigars.
Well, he's Canadian, right? So he's probably a big hockey guy.
Yeah, he's Canadian, and so like it's but he's done pretty well for himself,
Yeah,
and
absolutely.
but just nice to connect with him, and to me know that we talked about our health that we've done the last few years, and I know that he was a neat freak the last couple of years, and but he has heart problems every once in a while too, so we talk a little bit about that too.
Okay, and then you also you're involved with Wolf Commercial Real Estate and Bancroft. What made you get involved with those two companies?
Yeah, so 7 years ago, I got my license from Jason Wolf at Wolf Commercial Real Estate. I took the class, and then I passed it, and then we started right there. Then I'm a licensed broker right now. What we do, most things are commercial, and we can do residential too, but I just stick with commercial. And he's been so good for me. We have a good team of people that we know. A lot of the athletes that are with us, we help each other, and we do really a lot of good business with them. We're in New Jersey and PA, but we can work anywhere in the U.S. And we also have a group called Gorfox, which is they have 75 other offices in the world, and so that helps us too, because we know everybody there, and then we can do some business there too.
Okay, nice.
Yeah, nice, very nice, very nice.
And also, like with Wolf Commercial Real Estate, I started with Jason, and then we got started a couple of years after that. We had our own celebrity hockey event. We had 6 former alumni and 2 teams, and split up the 2 teams, and then we give money back to the charities. Like the last couple of years, like for the hockey, we raised 80,000 for that, and then for our golf tournament, we raised 40,000 for it. So it started adding up. Like, so we did 4 of them already, and then we've been to 4 golf tournaments. So we help 6 charities in our area, and everyone gets a nice check from setting those up.
Now, are those like golf charities, like those events, are they around the same time every year, or?
Well, usually we're in September, but the last couple of years,
Right,
because of the Boreas, so like we haven't had a chance to do that. But yeah, I think now we're start thinking about another next year, and it'll take a little time to set that up. But people love it, and I have good celebrities. Last time I had John LeClaire and Fridge and Doug Crossman and Andre Faust, and you have the guys that know why they're here, and they live in the area.
right, and I'm assuming that's in the PA, New Jersey area every year as well.
Well, we usually have since we're in New Jersey, we usually have the hockey event at Voorhees Skate Zone,
Right.
and then we have an after party at the Victory Bar in Berlin after that. So you kind of put it all together, and then we have prizes and giveaways, and it all starts adding up. So like 80,000 for a hockey is pretty good.
Yeah, for sure, for sure. And then everybody could go check that out at your website too. I'm assuming, right?
Yeah, so like at Wolf, it's wolfcre.com, and there's lots of information on that. And so like I was just talking with Jason today because we did a deal, nice deal last week, and so just to me in front of the other people and talking with them and in the office in Marlton, it's nice to stay in front of them and build a nice network of people so that they keep coming back to us, and we're really good at what we do.
Yeah, for sure. It sounds awesome. I think we're gonna start transitioning into your career as a Flyer, as an NHLer. Now the first question we have here is when you get drafted by the Flyers in '79, being a kid from a small town in Saskatchewan, did you know anything about the Flyers organization or the city of Philadelphia as a whole?
Not really. I was one of those weird guys because I played 3 years in Brandon, and so I didn't really follow hockey too much until my last couple of years, where a couple of guys said, "Hey, you have a chance to be playing in the pros," and so I didn't really follow hockey too much. Like I was a little weird for that. All I know is I grew up in Saskatchewan. Every Saturday night we had hockey, and I just I like to watch John Belleville because he was such a good player and a class guy, and so that's what I liked him, the way he did that. But after getting to the Philadelphia Flyers was a blessing for me because I made the team right away, and we won all the time, and I was there my first 11 years, and we made the playoffs every year, and then I got traded to Boston and Minnesota, so my first 13 years, I was in the playoffs, 13 consecutive years.
Yeah, I mean, you just mentioned it. You made the team your first year, and you start off playing on a line with legends like Bobby Clarke and Reggie Leach. I mean, welcome to the show, right? I mean, what was that like to play with those guys right away?
Well, it was good because like I was really quiet. I didn't say much. I was really naive. I lived with an older lady my first year, and just figure out a way to get to practice and back, and go back. And but Bobby Clarke helped me a lot because he told me where to go. And my first game was against the Islanders at the Spectrum, and we won. I think 5-3, and I scored the game winner and had an
I was about to say that. You scored, right?
Started. Yeah. So I played with Reggie Leach and Bobby Clarke as a line, and then 20 years, not years, but gains into the. I probably played with Paul Holmgren and Kenny Linsman at that time, and Bill Barber, kind of took my place too. But we had a strong team, and so I remember the first game was special because I game winner and I scored a goal, and then we lost 9-2 against Atlanta the second game. And I said, wow, is this what the NHL is going to be like? And then we went 35 without a loss after that.
Right. That actually brings us into our next question. In your rookie season, you saw the record that, has yet to be broken. The team went on a 35-game unbeaten streak. Can you talk about that? Like what that was like? And, at what point did you guys start talking about the streak, if you, did it all?
Yeah, I think it was early in the year because it was a second year in, and then we started a 35 undefeated streak. So I remember because about 18 to 20 games into it, people started to notice because it was getting close. And then when we tied the record in Boston, where they're lost there, and then we went 7 more without a loss. So that was pretty special. Like it was in January before we lost the third game.
Right.
Yeah. So, 1980, obviously your rookie year, it was a year to remember in Philly sports, some good, some bad. All 4 major sports teams, I don't know if you remember this, but all 4 major sports teams actually made their championship games with only the Phillies winning their first World Series. Were you or any other players in the locker room? And I know the Phillies were October, and you guys were probably May, June. The same with the Sixers, and the Eagles were in the Super Bowl in February of '81, which is the '80 season. But like,
Yeah.
was anybody talking about what was going on that season, or the following season, about how much success was going on in the city?
Yeah, I think because at that time, like, just think about the Philadelphia Flyers won in '74 and '75, and then they lost to Montreal, like in, I think, '78 or '79,
Right.
and then we went to the finals against the Islanders. But I was young, and so I didn't really know much. I was just here to hockey to play hockey, and didn't did too much with the other teams. But Bobby Clark remembers everything, and so like he knows all the teams that were there. And then from the '80s on, like,
Well, he's
I
the
know
captain, right? He's got to know that stuff.
Oh yeah, well, and he's so good with the press. I was really quiet my first couple of years. Like, I didn't say much with the press, and then after like 5 years, like when Bobby Clark left, and then I became a member with Poulin and Mark Howe and Brad McCrimmon. So it just taught me a way to communicate with the press a lot more after that. But I was really, really quiet at the start, and probably still pretty quiet for most of the press that are there.
Right. So, like you said, we're kind of transitioning to that halfway point in your Flyers career. Like you said, the first 5 or 6 years. Jumping into the '85 season, an unfortunate tragedy occurred when Pelle Lindbergh suddenly passed away. Just like, how good do you think he was, and what do you think his potential was, and what does that do to a locker room? Because that was a couple of weeks into the season, right?
Yeah, it was really what a shame, because at that time he won the Venice the year before, and he didn't really lose a game that year, and then unfortunately he passed, and so we had to deal with that, even though we didn't want to. But Mike Keenan was a coach, and so he took us after practice and put us together all the time, and just let us talking about everything, and just kind of just be a little bit open with our team. But it made us a lot closer. And that time, Froze was the goalie, and so like he kind of had to step up a little bit more. And then, of course, in '87, Hextall came here, but we had good goalies, and but it was tough on us because we were a good team, and without having a key goalie, it really hurts your chances.
Well, you guys went against the Oilers in that year, '85, and then '87. To the Cup team. Do you think those Oilers teams are the best NHL teams ever?
Yeah, they have to be, because
Right.
in the early '80s, like look at, they had like 6 or 7 Hall of Famers in their prime, and they're all, at that time when you played hockey, we didn't make that much money, and we stayed with other teams a little longer because we didn't know what the salaries were, and so that was different. And then, like, the Islanders won 4 in a row, and then Oilers won another 4, and then Calgary in '89 with Brad McCrimmon as a coach, captain, and so it was tough to win. And then, of course, Edmonton in '90 with Boston, and Minnesota and Pittsburgh with Lemieux. I mean, the best players in the world we played against.
Right. Now, I got to ask the question that's been plaguing Flyers fans for the last 35 years. Do you think the '87 finals would have gone differently if Tim Kerr is healthy?
Yeah, probably, because he was such a good scorer.
Yeah.
Like he missed most of the series, and so, like, having a guy like that makes a big difference. And plus we were beat up, and Mark Howe was unbelievable, and Hextall was good, and Dave Poulin was hurt, and Ilka was hurt. Everyone was banged up and hurt, and so but we still. Made us proud that in Philadelphia they admired like how we played at the end.
Yeah, absolutely. And then you just kind of continued into the Canada Cup in '87, and I mentioned you played with guys like Clark and Leach your first year, but then in the Canada Cup in '87, you play on a line with Gretzky and Mario Lemieux. I mean, there's not many guys that can say they play with both of those guys on the same line. I mean, what was it like to play with the two best guys ever?
Or all four of those guys,
right? Or all four of those guys, right?
Well, we had Team Canada was really special for me because we won the Canada Cup and it was a 3-game series, and every game was 6-5, and then it was nice to finally win the championship in '87 because like I said, I played most with Gretzky and Lemieux, and filled with Herichek and Messier and Bourque and Coffey and Tocchet and Doug Crossman played a big part of that, and just putting the right guys together, like the Sutters and Goulet, and the unbelievable talent we had, but the Russians were really, really good too, because at that time they had to defect until they got drafted in 1990, but they played just to win these championships.
Right. Yeah, absolutely. And then moving along, I mean, we get to the '89 playoffs. You get the cheap shot elbow from Chris Chelios. I can't believe you only missed one game. You came back in Game 3. But then later in the series, Hextall goes after Chelios. I mean, what was going? You were on the bench for that, right? So what was going through your mind watching Hextall take a beeline for Chelios?
Well, it was about 3 minutes left in the third period. We were down by 2, and then we just killed off a penalty, and then of course Chelios went inside, and then Hextall just had enough because he wanted to send a message to people that don't do that to our Philadelphia Flyers, and I admire him for that so much because he stuck up for me, and he didn't have to, and of course he got 12 game suspension at the beginning of next year, which was unbelievable, and but I admire him so much for me, backing me up, and we're good friends from that.
Did Chelios reach out to you after that hit at all, or do you guys come in contact
with
each other?
No, and even last year he did send something on Facebook, which was not cared. It wasn't very nice.
Yeah.
So, real quick, what was it like to be front row watching Ron Hextall go after these guys, like a man without a head?
Crazy, yeah.
Yeah, so he was a competitor, and he hated to lose, but I loved his fiery style because he's pretty quiet off the ice. I know his family, a lot because my daughter's dating his son Jeff.
Okay.
So, but he's in Pittsburgh, and he's doing really well in Pittsburgh now, and I love him for that, for trying and putting the right place, and just keeping his team going.
Yeah, for sure. We watch videos on YouTube of all this stuff. I just can't even imagine what it's like to be front row, watching him go after guys with a stick in his hand, getting ready to chop somebody's head off.
His first 2 years, he had 220 minutes in penalties, didn't he?
As a goalie.
Yeah, as a goalie.
Yeah, as a goalie.
That's funny. Okay, so
but we helped him keel off the penalties, because in the 80s, Hextall changed the game because he shot the puck so well, and with Dave Poole and myself being the best penalty killers in the 80s, we got a lot of shorthanded goals.
Right. So I'm sure for every penalty minute, you bought him a beer, right? After the game.
Oh yeah, we tried to. Yeah, definitely.
Yeah. Okay, so going into the 89-90 season, the Flyers traded you to Boston, like you said earlier on the show, in which your longtime teammate Dave Poulin was also traded there about 6 weeks before. Can you tell us what that was like how it was being traded from the team that drafted you? Like you said, you were here for 11 years, over a decade. You had spent, all that time here, putting that Flyers logo on every night. Can you just tell us about, what that feeling was like?
Well, I loved Philadelphia. at that time, and then when I got traded, like I kind of knew it was going to happen because uh, I had hand surgery. I had an artery in my hand that was had to be taken out, and so I missed 25 games or 27 games for that. And so, like I rehabbed and I just got back to start playing. And so I think that Bobby Clark did me a favor of getting me to Boston that last year, which was number one in the league, and then with Dave Poulin getting traded, then too, it gave us a 1-2 punch for shorthanded again.
Right, and I'm like, I'm sure the chemistry was right where you guys left it off too.
Yeah. So like and again, like we did really well in the playoffs that year because I just remember that Boston had a tough time against Montreal, and I think having the two veteran guys helped us get through Pittsburgh to Montreal, and then we played Washington, and we swept them, and then we went into the finals in Boston, and then triple overtime, the lights going out a couple times, and then Klimo starting scoring, which was it hurt us because you need to win that first game, especially at home.
Right. Yeah. So you kind of alluded to how Bobby Clark did you the favor. So can you just tell us the impact that Bobby Clark had on you as a player? From line mates to teammates to playing under him as the Flyers GM and then eventually Minnesota's North Stars GM.
Yeah, so Bobby Clark played in Flin Flon, and I played in Brandon, in both Manitoba, and so I learned from him right at the start. But I worked as hard as he did too. I wanted to be the last in practice, and shooting a lot more, and try to score more, and to follow his lead with his leadership. But his leadership is unbelievable because he was one of the best in the world at that time, because he figured out a way to make people much better playing with them and against them. And so he's had a good knack of talking to the players to make them get better in the playoffs. And I learned from him at the start, and just by him talking with me and going to practice and setting a good example and being consistent, that's what it was. And then the same thing with Bob Clark when he in Minnesota. He learned how to win from there, and then he was in Florida a couple of years, and then back with the Flyers, and so he's had a long career, and he's always done really well.
Right, and I have one more question about Bobby Clark too. We're going to backpedal a bit here, back to the 80 season, going to the finals, the 79-80 season. What is there anything like you can remember from him? You said like his leadership that because he had been there multiple times. He has 2 cups. Just stuff like some things that kind of that you just sticks out to you that you remember about going on that run and him giving the advice.
Yeah, so like as I got a little older, like I learned how to be a better leader and be consistent, and it's all about making sure you win in the playoffs.
Right.
It doesn't matter what you play, regular season or all-star games. You still have to perform in the playoffs where it counts. And so he taught me at that time. I know because we went to the finals my first year, and then we lost the Rangers 2 years after that. And then so like I learned from that I had to be much better when it comes down to the playoff time. And so he taught me how to concentrate. And of course, for me, using Steve Rosenberger, the psychologist that the Flyers had at that time, he taught us how to relax and use our brain and make sure that everything is, you learn how to become one of the better players on the team, and just from learning all the little things that you need to try to get better.
Right.
Right. So you and then you finish your career the last couple years with the Whalers, right? So you scored your 1,000th point as a member of the Whalers, and you hit that against the team that drafted you. You spent most of your career with the Flyers. How was it? How was the feeling, of hitting that milestone against your former team?
Well, it was really good for me because I was running out of time because it was almost the end of the year, and I wanted to get my 1,000 points and games, and which I got that a couple games before that, my 1,000th point games, and then scoring the 2 goals in Philadelphia at the end of the season was so nice for me because a lot of my family was there, and it was special for me. And then I had ended up with 1,004 points and almost a point a game, but for me it was just nice because you want that milestone of 1,000 points, and just it's almost a point a game, but the playoffs are the key, because in the playoffs for history, for the number one in the history of scoring for left wingers, and so that's played in 5 finals and played a lot of points and played consistently, but always had good players that were playing with me.
So yeah, you actually just brought up what the next question has. So you played in 5 Stanley Cups. Unfortunately, you didn't come away with any or victory. Can you talk just about how hard it is to win a Stanley Cup, and how much the game changes in the playoffs from the regular season?
Yeah, so in 1980, that year we was number 1 against number 16th, because I remember the first round we played against Edmonton, and then the Islanders they ended up 1 against 16, so we got to play in the finals against them, and then they changed the conference after that. But yeah, I still remember the game 6 where we were tied, and then if we had a chance, if we win, we bring back to Philadelphia for game 7, but it wasn't meant to be. But the Islanders scored too many power play goals against us. That hurt us because we weren't that disciplined at that time. But to get started, that was pretty nice. But the playoffs mean so much because you have to get much better. Like now, even now, like with the 7 series, if you miss one game, or you're hurt, or you don't perform, then you're all done. And then, so that's why I learned how to be much better in the first round of the playoffs, because if not, you're out.
Right. Yeah. So, the next thing we got here, I was curious, and this is always something I like to ask, former players if I ever get the chance. Who would you say were some of your closest teammates while playing here? Some of your favorite teammates while playing here?
Well, of course, it was Brad McCrimmon, because we played in 3 years in Brandon together, and then he was in Boston, and then he got traded to Philadelphia, and he was a great leader. And so I remember him, and of course Mark Howe, and then my good friend Ray Allison, who played 3 years in Brandon together too. And I see him all the time. He played for the Flyers for a couple of years after that. Flocky Hockey was our line, and but yeah. So for me, it's just the guys that I played junior with, like Brad McCrimmon and Ray Allison, are good friends of mine, and Mark Howe is unbelievable.
Okay, cool.
Hal's still incredibly underrated. Just as a player in general, Hal was incredible.
Yeah, well, he's so quiet, and
yeah.
he should have won 3 more Norrises, and then Landwehr won a couple. But that's because the Flyers didn't promote us that well.
Yeah. And then you also played with both Rick Tocchet and Paul Holmgren. Played for Paul Holmgren as well. 2 guys recently that got inducted into the Flyers Hall of Fame. What's your relationship with those 2 guys?
Well, Paul, I know him because he's got a place in Avalon, and he just moved to outside of Philadelphia. But I've known him for all those years because from being the coach, and then like even when when I was with Hartford, he was a coach at the start, and then he moved to the GM, and and plus I've been here last 41 years, and so I know everybody in the area. But Holmgren, he still does a lot of work he was with the Flyers president, and then Tocchet, he's been with coaching. Now he's in TV and doing other things, and so I don't talk with him too much, but. I know Paul Holmgren is close, and then I'm still on the board of the Flyers alumni, and we do a lot of things for that. We the day before with Tocchet and Holmgren, they had a Flyers alumni team of all 50 players playing against each other the day before, in like November 15th, and so that was special to see a lot of the guys that I haven't seen for a few years, the Sutters and Hatcher.
Right. So another thing that I always find interesting too, and you transitioned this very well. The shootout was not a part of your game while you spent your time in the NHL, but if it were, who do you think would have a better shootout record? You, Tim Kerr, or Rick Tocchet? And listen, it's okay not to be humble right now. You can brag on yourself.
Well, I think it would have been me because I shot top shelf most of the time, but I hit the net every time, and so I worked on my shot. But Tim Kerr, like he was better with one time shots. Right. Tocchet, I'm not sure. He doesn't have the hands, but still, it was. I would
he had the looks.
That it'll be me because I still play hockey in the Pennsauken skate zone, and I still score goals, even though my hand doesn't work that well. But I do the guffaw. The goalies I play with aren't that good, and so I find a way to make sure it counts.
Hey, right. They don't ask how, they ask how many.
That's for sure. Yeah.
Listen, you guys put up the goals. He had the looks, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so obviously you played at the Spectrum, and I'm kind of curious, how that was as a player. Mike and I are a little bit younger. We saw the very end of the Spectrum, and obviously it wasn't like the prime Spectrum, but where were some of your favorite places to play as an opponent? Like, and you can even go into the Spectrum too, playing at the Spectrum.
Yeah, so the Spectrum was special because the second level was like top levels because they were underneath themselves. And right. It was really loud. It was packed, but it was loud. And then the Wells Fargo Center has just changed a little different. It's just a little bit bigger, but they're both really good. But the Spectrum was special because I was there for 11 years, and I knew a lot of season ticket holders, and I'd wave to them and all over the place. I was a little different like that, but yeah, I knew where they sat, and then I still know season ticket holders because last 4 years I was doing the ambassador with Bernie and Dave Schultz, and then this up now we have got hockey, and hasn't not too much going on. So I was at most of the games this at the start of this year, but lately I haven't been there, and they only have special games that I could be an ambassador for.
Right. So where would you say are some of your favorite places that you did play as an opponent? Some of your favorite places to go?
I loved Montreal because of all the history at the rink with all their Stanley Cups, and playing in Canada was special because it's different in Canada. And then my second favorite arena was Chicago. Chicago was out loud, and it was atmosphere, and it was I hated to if we got scored against them, their horn would blow, and then after that I love Madison Square Garden too because the atmosphere is really good too.
Okay, cool. Yeah. I definitely thought you probably I was gonna guess you were gonna say somewhere like Edmonton, but I mean definitely Madison Square Garden. It's definitely the mecca of anything. So during your career, were there any and I guess you just kind of answered it, but were there any teams, players you always circled on your calendar to prepare for? Whether you knew it was going to be a hard battle or an exciting game or a special one for another reason.
Well, I think because we played our own conference a lot, so like more like it was Boston and the Rangers and
Right.
Pittsburgh that you hate to play against. But prepared the same way for every game. I wanted to be very consistent with what I did. Because some of these guys they don't score for 10 or 15 games, and you have to be more up with you consistent with how you play the game. And I was always ready, and of course we always had good teams with the Flyers, and so that was easy, and we usually had a lead, which was made it easier. And if not, like we double shift a couple other players if we needed a goal or two. But we were tough to play against. We always had tough teams, and people hated to play against us because they had the flu, and so that was okay because it gave us an edge.
Right. So yeah, so and you alluded to it a little bit earlier. You talked about it. Playing in it. 3 huge alumni games. One being at Citizens Bank Park. Which one do you remember the most? Like, what were some of your favorite memories from playing in those alumni games?
Well, the outside game was in 2011 and 12, I think,
Yeah.
against the Rangers.
12, yeah.
That was special because it was the first time outside in Philadelphia, and we sold out the whole arena, 45,000 people, but it was nice because we had like 6 lines, like 5 generations of players that were there. Everyone, of course, wanted to play. So it was tough to get some ice time, but at the same time, you wanted to win, and Keenan double shifted his best defenseman the third period, but we still beat them, and it was the 3-1 the score. Tough game, but it was real special for me just to be outside and just to talk with the guys that were there, take some pictures, and have those as reminders.
I think Bernie even put on the pads for that game, didn't he? Wasn't he
Well,
out
he
there?
did, yeah, and
He made a nice save
his
too, if I
agent
remember.
Dean Smith had him. Hey, listen, here, just if you get a chance, we'll skate a little bit and then just get more ready for that. And he was ready.
Yeah, absolutely. I kind of wanted to go into the more current stuff. So the All-Star game was this weekend. Did you watch any All-Star game, or what do you think is of the All-Star weekend that the NHL has now? What do you think of that as a whole?
Yeah, I didn't watch any of that because the last couple of years it's kind of a joke
Yeah.
because even like in the 80s and 90s it used to be competitive where like you played as hard as you did. And when I see the skate around and don't touch any people, don't hurt anybody, and it's just it's different because there's a lot of scoring, and so guys give up, and then it's a little different. But I think they want the fans to say that something is going better, but it's kind of a joke, right? I think.
Right, yeah. They moved it to 3-on-3 a couple years ago, so now it's just all scoring, wide open ice.
Yeah. So, speaking of the All-Star game, your last All-Star game appearance was in 1990, which was the first year they had the skills competition. What do you remember about that event, and what was it like going to the All-Star game and competing against the best players in the world or in the league?
Yeah, that time I still remember because in Pittsburgh and Lemieux was there. I played with Lemieux and Neely as a line, and Lemieux scored 4 goals, and I checked Gretzky because he didn't get a point that day because I wanted to shut him down, which was in my mind that's what I had to do, and then Lemieux took over after that, but. It's all fun because most of the people, and at that time I was 11 years into the league, and so I knew a lot of other people and plans, and because I knew who they were, and just exciting to be there. And I think I'm not sure if I did the Tartars, the four.
Oh, the accuracy shooting. So you did the relay. I think it was the accuracy. I was watching it this weekend.
Yeah, I think on the relay. Yeah, so
Yeah,
like
you did the yeah.
not my strong seat, but the shooting was much easier for me. But but it was still because we still won the game, and that was special.
right.
Hey, that's what gets you paid, right?
Yeah,
Score goals.
yeah.
I wanted to go more current Flyers. Obviously this year hasn't gone the way that they would have liked. But there's like among the fan base, there's been a lot of chatter and criticism recently about like the current franchise being too corporate and going away from like the Ed Snyder way. As a member of the alumni, do you get that same sense, or do you think it's more of like a fan way of thinking?
Well, it's like because I've been here for 41 years, and I love the Philadelphia Flyers, and I'm on their board of alumni. We do a lot of nice work with them, and Comcast helps us all with all of the charities that they support us. I know it's been a tough year because the coaches got fired, and you know, some of these guys have been injured throughout most of the year, and so but you know, losing 10 or 13 a couple times doesn't help because like you know they're probably not they're not getting in the playoffs right now because they've got 45 games and the other teams have like another 8 or 10 in front and ahead of them, and so you know they have to rebuild and just hopefully that they can get a little better and get some confidence at the end of the year, and hopefully a couple of their better players will get better. And you know, I know that the goalies have been playing really well. Hart and Jones have been playing out of their minds, and so but it's good for Hart to realize that hey, listen, even though that they're not winning, like they can't score goals, and that's tough. And their power play hasn't been that well, and so you know sometimes it might be a need to change.
Well, that was a frustrating part. Like last year, things didn't go their way, but that was a lot of it was goaltending. So everybody was like, well, if they just fix the goaltending, this is a playoff team, and they actually have really good goaltending, like you said. They've been playing really well, and things still haven't gone. I mean, the Ryan Ellis injury obviously has been real big and has hurt them really since what game 5. So
yeah. So the year before, like you can't blame the goalies because the defense wasn't playing that well.
true.
And so like you know it's a team effort. You can't just blame a goalie, or you have to play as a team. You have to be together. You have to hang together. You got to have some fun, but more fun when you win. And then you have to get in the playoffs. I mean, and now it's tough because there's 32 teams, and if you don't get in the playoffs, you're out. And so, but everyone has a chance on the power play in the playoffs. So they just have to make sure that they try to get close and make the playoffs. And so, you know, it'll be a year, and then hopefully they make some changes. And then I'm not sure if they're going to have a new coach or what they're going to do, but it's tough for all the players that are here now because of all the things that the coaching and you know they just have to find a way to get the younger guys to be playing a little bit better and give them some more ice time.
Yeah, for sure. And you know, I kind of wanted to transition here a little bit to you know, the late great Ed Snyder. You know, as a Philly fan, you kind of see a guy like Jeffrey Lurie with the Eagles. He doesn't really have that much of a relationship with the Eagles fans. Josh Harris doesn't really have that relationship with the Sixers fans. The same thing with John Middleton and the Phillies, doesn't really have that relationship with the Phillies fans. What was it about Ed Snyder that really, like, he had that relationship with the fans, even though it wasn't obviously like, you know, hey, you can walk up to Ed, hey, Ed, you know, but it felt like there was always that close relationship between the owner and the Flyers. Can you just, you know, kind of shed light on him a little bit and talk about your relationship with him?
Mr. Snyder loved the team. He loved the people that were with him. They kept building teams that they wanted to win. And he did his best he can just to even bring some young players or older players, whatever he thought they could win. And I know it's been tough the last almost every second year they're not making it in the playoffs, and so that hurts. And then, but he was so good with all the players that were there. That's why do you think all these people here love staying and living in New Jersey and Philadelphia? Because they love the city, and they love what he's built for him. And it's just I miss him. I mean, he helped me so much after my stroke. He helped me because I wasn't making that much money at the time, and so he gave me some money which I really needed, and so I'll never forget that for him.
Yeah, I mean, he built an entire culture. I mean, like the Flyers hockey. I mean, that was Ed Snyder. So
yeah, he's unbelievable. Their whole family has done a really nice job.
Yeah, absolutely. And kind of staying in that front office subject. So this past Saturday, the Flyers announced they've assigned Danny Briere assistant GM. Many Flyers fans have been, vocal about not going to the old ways of using old players in those big roles like the front office or behind the bench, and it not working. What do you think of this move?
Well, Danny is such a great guy. He's a smart guy. He knows hockey. That's why he was running the main team, and so like he's been doing that for a few years, and he knows hockey really well. He speaks English and French, and he communicates with all these other people. But look what he's done for the city. Just from here, even in Philadelphia, the playoffs are meant to him and a lot to him, and he performed really well in the playoffs. And so he's a winner, and I love him for that.
Yeah, absolutely. He is one of my favorite. Obviously, I'm 25, so he was prime Flyers hockey for me when I was 10, 11, 12 years old, and he's definitely one of my favorite Flyers, ever to watch. And just the playoff ability and just as a player, it's really cool to see.
Well, he can still skate too. He probably maybe they'll dress him a games, couple games, yeah, because he looks like he's 25 like you, right? He's, he's a little older, but he looks good. He like in the alumni game that we had, like Gagne and Briere, like where they were flying.
Right.
I wanted to get more to again back to the current team a little bit. I just got a couple more things for you, but I know you slightly mentioned it, but with the roster the way it is, I mean, do you think this team should rebuild? I mean, is that kind of that's probably the only case to get themselves out of this, right?
Well, take a look at all the younger players that they have. I think if they give them some ice time so that they can perform, because I think that most of the veterans have been taking all the ice times, and so and the power play is not working that well. So like, give them a chance to play a little bit with the young guys, and that could help too. You just have to start from there, but they'll figure out a way. Like if their power play works, and they get some guys that can score. One goal makes a big difference, and so like they just need that choice.
Right. So kind of want to. I think this might be one of our last questions here, but just going back to the last decade plus. I mean, the last 12, 13 years of the face of the Flyers is Claude Giroux. He's been a player that has been, undervalued in this city for a good portion of his career. What's your take on Giroux, and, where do you put him on the list of like all-time Flyers? I'm sure you know him personally. He's one of my favorite players ever. I think he's one of Mike's favorite players ever. Tell us a little bit about Giroux, your relationship with him.
Well, I won't talk with these guys too much because
Okay.
they're not. You don't see them too much out. I do a lot of charity work in golf tournaments and hockey, but haven't really had a chance to talk with them too much. But yeah, he's been here for 15 years, and so he's one of the best players that the Flyers have had. But the thing is that not consistent, and you can't when you don't win in the playoffs, it takes away from him. And so hopefully they can trade him to a Conternal someone that could win, and then that'll give him another chance to show how he can do with another team.
Right, definitely.
Right. I just had one final question. I'm looking at your stats, right, and I look at your playoff stats. They're also equally as impressive. How are you not in the Hall of Fame?
It's crazy. It's really crazy.
Well, it's politics.
Yeah.
You just have to for me, I think it's just because we were quiet when I was playing for the Flyers, but my stats speak for myself because I'm the number one left wing in the history of playoffs, and I performed really well, and it was consistent, so the Hockey Hall of Fame is it means that they have to kind of find somebody that could support on the committee, and so if I find the right guy, then I think you need 14 of the 18 votes to get in, and so we're working on it a little bit because it might be time. I don't want to die before that would happen or not, because my stroke 6 years ago, I almost died, and still alive, that I'm kicking and doing well. And also, just so you know, I also work with Bancroft Rehab for people's strokes and brain injuries. And so that's why I have trouble speaking every once in a while. At the start of my stroke, I couldn't talk at all. I had to relearn with my brain how to talk. But if I slowed it down and it made some sense, so you notice that I can't speak the same way. But and I also did the radio for 9 years for the Flyers, and I'm on their board, and I do a lot of things for the Flyers and Canada, and the World Championships, and Canada Cup, Spangler Cup, so it all starts adding up, but I'll just take it if it gets there. If not, I've got lots of other things to do too.
For sure.
Right, absolutely. So
can we also get a little view of your shirt here too? Like I said earlier, when you sent the cigars, you sent the shirt.
Yeah.
And it fits great. I love it. I'm going to wear it. And I'm very appreciative of it.
Nice.
Yeah, absolutely.
Well, you have to try, you start with a mild cigar.
Yeah.
Don't smoke too much, but yeah, they're smooth, and that's good.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah,
I'm excited.
Listen, we're glad you're doing well. And I hope the Hall of Fame thing happens because, again, your stats speak for themselves. You deserve it. But thank you so much for your time. Thanks for joining us.
Thank you so much.
Thanks, guys. Thanks, Mike and Don.
I'll say it. All right, so Brian Propp.
It's like a surreal moment.
Yeah, it really was. Yeah.
Definitely fun time right there.
Absolutely. So we've gone on about 59 minutes. Did you want to do some Super Bowl stuff?
Yeah. Let's preview it. Yeah.
But before we get out of here.
Yeah, for sure.
All right. So I wasn't even prepared to do this. No. Hold on. Let me pull up the list.
I think we're still on cloud 9 right now.
We are. All right. So we also haven't really talked Super Bowl in a couple. Last week we didn't even talk about it. So we got the Rams and the Bengals. The Bengals right now the Rams are a 4-point favorite. They're away, but they're kind of home, I guess.
Right. How crazy is it that for what is this, Super Bowl 50?
It's a Super Bowl 56.
Okay, so Super Bowl 56, the first 54 were never played at a home team stadium. Now 2 years in a row, it's
2 years in a row.
It's right. It's a home team stadium, so it's pretty wild.
Right, exactly.
But yeah, I don't know how much of a home game LA is going to be,
Right. Yeah, it's going to be a lot of corporate stuff.
Yeah.
Pulling up some comments now from that from when we were live with Prop. So yeah, Joe Burrow's a winner, right? Do we think that actually happens?
Listen, I want to see Cincinnati win.
So do I. A lot of people, I think, do.
Yeah. I think there are a lot of people that are convinced they are going to win. I don't know about that.
I think it could go either way. I think it really is just a toss-up kind of game.
It could be. I mean, it all depends which team shows up. Because you can't sit here and say like Stafford, is experienced, because he's not. Like he's just as experienced as Joe Burrow is, essentially. I mean, he's only played...
That's not fair. That's not fair.
No, in the playoffs. I mean,
in the playoffs,
playoffs,
sure, yeah.
right.
I mean, I guess, but it's
the big game.
Yeah, no, I get you.
I think he's only played
he's
in
been
one
in the
or
league
two
for what, 15 years? Like
close
2010,
to it. 2010, yeah,
12 years.
yeah. So I just mean the big game. Like he doesn't have this clear advantage over Joe Burrow where he's been to the big game and he's lost it, so he knows what he's got to do to win that next jump that next hurdle. You know what I mean? So
Right.
yeah, I mean this game could really be a toss up. I really want to see Cincinnati win, but
It'd be nice.
yeah, for sure. I you know how I feel about Joe Burrow. I know how you feel about Joe Burrow, so it would be a lot of fun.
Burrow.
Yeah.
Some Joey Cole. What other names
Yep.
could we come up with?
He's got a couple nicknames. Joey Burr.
He does. Joey Burr. I like
Joey
it.
Ice. Yeah. So it'd be really cool to see him. I got my block pools ready to go.
Do you?
I got my parlays in. I might throw in another one. Who knows?
Okay.
But yeah. I'm excited. I'm excited for the game.
Absolutely.
Are we gonna do against the spread for this, or?
I was just about to bring that up because I was looking at our stats. So on the year, I think these are accurate. I got to go back and make sure, but I'm 45-56, so I have zero shot at a winning record. Obviously, you're 50-51, so you could be 500 if you get this right.
Yeah. I gotta pull it up. What do you have the line?
It's 4.
The Rams are minus 4.
The Ramers.
Yeah.
The Rams are -4.
Again, it's so tough because I think that I think the Rams are going to win. I don't know if they're going to win by 4 or more than 4, but I really want to see Cincinnati win. So like I'm kind of stuck here.
Okay, but listen, you can think on it. I don't even need to think. I'm going Bengals +4. I think they win outright because
I think
Joe Burrow's a winner. Joe Burrow
go
is a winner, so that's what I'm doing.
I think I'm going to go to the same.
And everybody's rooting for it to happen too. So
yeah. I think I'll go Bengals +4.
Okay, that's no fun. Thought we were gonna go against each other here.
Listen, if the
that,
Rams, if I would have went Rams, they would have won by 3, and I would have lost. So
right,
that's just the way that it goes.
Right, exactly.
Because if I won, so I had the better record. So even if I win or lose this game, I still did better.
Right.
So
exactly.
Screw you.
So yep, it's there's always next year. That's the beauty of it. There's always next year.
Yep.
Did you want to get out of here? Do you have anything else you want to talk about? I mean, did you want to talk Sixers and this James Harden stuff?
Well, I don't think there really is much to talk about. It's all rumors.
I was gonna say all rumors and speculation. Harden for Simmons, maybe a Maxey, maybe a Seth. I mean, there's a bunch of rumors out there.
Yeah, and next week we'll definitely have an answer because the trade deadline is this week. So
is it this early?
Yep.
Yep.
Okay. So I think it's usually. I think it's. Is it March usually? No, I think it usually is February.
Is it?
It's right. It's usually. I think it used to be before the All-Star game, and now it was a week before the All-Star game. Now it's a week after the All-Star game.
Okay.
So they changed that like 2 or 3 years ago, and so by the show next week, I think we're still gonna have Ben Simmons, but
probably.
But we'll save that for next week when we have an actual answer.
Right. Absolutely. So I mean, we could get out of here. We got nothing else, right? I mean, that was anything that stood out for you from the Propp interview.
Dude, he seems like such a mellow, chill guy. So like when we got him to laugh a couple times, like I thought that was pretty funny, pretty cool.
Yeah, absolutely.
But yeah, I mean, just talking about the toughness of that era of hockey and Flyers hockey, and especially the Ed Snyder stuff like that. That really and obviously like you are I'll say you are a big Flyers fan than me.
Yep.
Bigger Flyers fan than me. I love the Flyers, but that's your team. So like I couldn't even imagine how you would feel about him talking about Ed Snyder like that. You know what I mean? Just somebody who isn't as big of a fan. I felt something the way that he talked about Ed Snyder. So I think that was probably one of the parts that really stood out to me the most.
Yeah, no, I thought it was interesting that he there's like some real ill will with Chris Chelios.
Yeah,
I didn't realize it was that serious.
Yeah.
Because like you think of Chelios, and a lot of people say he's like one of the best American defensemen ever. He's like top 3 or 5. And then it just seems like he's just a shitty guy.
Yeah, it's
So,
a shame.
Yeah, right.
The whole interview was great.
Absolutely.
He could not be a nicer guy. So, definitely huge shout out to him. It's just another for us. It's I think for our personal accounts and our podcast account. I'm not sure, but we got another follow. So
Absolutely.
Brian he follows both of us. So that's a win in my book. It's a check on the in the book.
There you go. Absolutely. So. All right. Well, we can get out of here. It was a fun one this week.
Yep.
Next week, I'm sure we'll be talking about a Super Bowl and what happens in the trade deadline and all that sort of stuff. So.
Yep.
All right. Well, we're gonna get out of here. Everybody can follow us anywhere you get podcasts. At Phired Up Podcast on Twitter and Facebook. And we will see you guys next Monday.